Tuesday LA River Art, or TULARIVA, was a group that I founded to highlight the beauty of the LA River. We're hoping to have artists, LA Redevelopment Agency, which puts in parks and recreational areas and bike paths along the LA River, and builders and other members of the private enterprise combine their resources to highlight the beauty of the LA River. It came about because a few of us were interested in painting the LA River on a regular basis. So we usually have about 5 or 6 people who paint each Tuesday. Often we meet for lunch afterwards and discuss what we're painting, and we talk about other places to paint. So each Tuesday, artists meet in different locations along the river in order to paint different scenes of bridges, aquatic life, trees, plants, urban scenes, all along the LA River. The video you're seeing today took place on St. Patrick's Day in 2015 and shows a group of us painting the LA River on St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing the green Ireland shirt, and we first started out looking for a place to paint, and we decided to paint under a bridge so that it provided some shade so that the canvases we were painting on wouldn't have bright light shining on them or distractions. And the first painting I did was actually a painting of the reflections on the water reflected on the concrete wall underneath the bridge. This was sort of a geometric shaped painting, and it was unusual for me because I usually do more traditional sorts of images. And it's also, I think, a painting that a lot of people looking at it don't immediately recognize what the subject matter is because of the geometric patterns and the angularity of it and the reflection of the light on the wall. I was drawn to it because it was such a unique scene, and since you'll be able to see the video, you'll easily recognize what I painted and what the real scene looked like. We were joined by a fisherman who himself was fishing under the bridge while we were painting, and he was quite a thin fisherman. I don't think he caught many fish, but we also were met by other people in the community who came by and were interested in what we were painting. I was painting with Rob, who did a scene of the bridge and the mountains in the background with the Griffith Park Observatory on the hill. Julie began painting down at the riverside, and she was mainly interested in the reflections of light on the water. And we each had 3 different perspectives. My second painting was a view of the river, the bridge, and the Griffith Park Observatory with the mountains in the background. I was quite happy with the way the mountains looked, the color, the purple that I used in them. I think if I were to go in and touch up this painting, I'd probably change some of the color along the river of the brush, maybe adding more of the rust colors that I see in real life, playing off the greens versus the rust colors of the dried plants and cane that grow along the river. It's quite amazing because years ago the LA River really had no vegetation in it. They cleaned it with bulldozers and took rocks and trees out of it to make it sort of devoid of any sort of life whatsoever. But over the last 20 years, boulders and rocks have filled in the main part of the river, allowing trees to grow, and also a lot of cattails and various things. And a lot of birds live along the river, so you'll see ducks and geese and even storks, which means there must be fish in the river because gray herons live off of grabbing fish with their beaks. They're beautiful birds. So it's nice to paint there, and we're hoping that the LA River movement, TULARIVA, becomes an important force for synergism between artists, the city redevelopment, and private enterprise, so that we can show and display artworks that people will enjoy in their new condos and houses that are being built along the LA River. The painting I did of the LA River with the bridge in the background, I often use the utility poles in my paintings of the LA River because they form an important compositional piece of the paintings. There's a mechanism called the Stilliard composition, and this involves having different structures at a sort of a vertical angle throughout the painting. Some are taller than others, and they provide sort of an organizational structure for the painting. I enjoy using the Stilliard composition with the utility poles that one sees along the LA River, because they're very interesting, and it allows me to use my favorite silver paint, which really pops, especially when I have those purple mountains in the background. Oftentimes when we're taking photographs of my paintings, I need to do a double process photograph where they take one picture, then they do a polarized picture to sort of limit the amount of silver that people can see in a photograph. I've used those poles for a lot of my compositions, and I really like them because it gives the flavor of both an urban and a rural feeling to the painting. So you know that along the LA River there's a lot of rural scenes with plants and trees and various things, and ducks and gray herons, but there's also this urban part of it involving the bridges and the electric poles and the bike paths and the things that are obviously part of an urban landscape. I think that's one thing that makes the LA River scene an interesting thing for plein air painters, is because it has elements of an urban and a rural sort of organizational structure. Much like the Impressionists around Paris painted factory stacks with smoke coming out of them, and they'd compare those to the fog and the clouds that were naturally occurring. For the Impressionists, a lot of man-made objects were often used as a compositional theme or subject, in the same way that we're now using power poles and bridges to paint LA River scenes here in Los Angeles. So I think it's an important thing for LA artists and painters to capture some of the spirit of Los Angeles, and that this is a popular theme for Los Angeles galleries to have images of the LA River and other urban and rural scenes in the paintings. We are free to go all the way from probably the Sepulveda Basin to Long Beach, which is all part of the length of LA River. Because a lot of the artists live in Glendale and Pasadena and South Pasadena and the Valley, we've tended to focus more around the area of Glendale and between the 110 freeway and 134 freeway. 110 is the southern extremity and 134 is the northern extremity, and we've been painting pretty much off of the 5 freeway in various places. But there's a lot of beautiful places along there to paint. There's the Elysian Park that's above the 110 freeway, and there's Griffith Park that's closer to the 134. And these all have very scenic areas that are interesting to paint that all involve LA River scenes. There's also bike paths and even places for people to ride horses along the LA River. So it's a very interesting mix of people enjoying the river, a lot of fishermen on the river as well. So it's an interesting mix of people, and the river is very important for this.